Base is dropped for Soccer's Morning Show. It's Thursday Thoughts, and it is John here, Jarrett there. And, Ricky, we're going to get into that. And that happened this morning, or at least I think 5:30 this morning, courtesy of Mark Ogden over at the Four Letter. We'll discuss what Russia wants to do when it comes to their national team status, and they're looking for a change of Fed. So we'll get into that this morning. We've got some stuff out of the USL, which is interesting, and that's the word that I'll use. We'll break it down, and probably tomorrow, as we wrap up 2022, I want to bring in our resident ref to get his thoughts on what we're going to talk about with the USL. There was a firing at Club Brugge, and it was dumb. We'll get into that. Got Neymar to talk about. La Liga is back. La Liga's back. We've got the Premier League to talk about. Erling Haaland has more goals than, I think, 8 of the teams in the Premier League this year. And there's a lot of things to talk about. And what I also want to do with 2022 is continue our wrap-up of 2022, kind of do that today and tomorrow, and be prepared on Monday where we go over New Year's resolutions for 2023. And it's both personal and soccer-based. So there's that on Monday. 2022 stuff to continue to wrap. I wanted to look at the folks that kind of drew your eye in 2022, the games that drew your eye, match of the year, player of the year, those kinds of things. And so we'll look at all of that stuff going forward. But as always, and we always like to do this. And so what I'll do is I'll put the QR code between me and Jarrett. It's our time for the opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com, Kickoff Coffee CO on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And what you can do when you invest in Kickoff Coffee, and a lot of you have, and we want to thank you for doing that, is that use the code SoccerDownHere15 to get 15% off of your purchase when it comes to everything Kickoff Coffee. They, in turn, take 10% reinvested into the youth game. So very, very cool stuff from our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. But as I bring in Jarrett this morning, Jarrett, we always have our conversations in our green room, and they go a bunch of different directions. But yesterday, it was activity in the SPFL, and I was going to use the word irony, but you used the word schadenfreude when it came to two particular clubs that were playing each other yesterday, and I yield at the opening kickoff to you.
Okay, so here's the thing. I'm going to drag you all to Scotland, kicking and screaming, whether you like it or not, because it's my opening kickoff, and because let's talk about Aberdeen. Let's talk about Aberdeen losing 4 games on the bounce after Christmas. Let's talk about Aberdeen losing 2-1, getting a very late goal to make it look like a better 2-1 to a Kilmarnock club that is managed by one Derek McGuinness, who used to be Aberdeen's manager, who they fired a while ago now. And when they did that, they decided they wanted to move away from that in Scotland also often called terror ball, to have more of the ball. John, what do you remember about that time? Give me your recollections of all this. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, wow. I don't know if that was rolling up a window or not. Because if you're rolling up a window, just make sure that you're secure. If you're rolling down a window, hopefully you're ordering enough for all of us. With Derek McGuinness, it was boring AF. It was time of your life that you couldn't get back. And that was, it was painful. It was absolutely painful when you're having to watch what
yes, it was.
What was going on with Derek McGuinness. And then you decide that you'd had enough of Derek McGuinness after like 92 seasons of him being in charge. Oh.
I will. Okay, I will push back slightly on it. In that Derek McGinnis did win hardware.
Yeah.
It just run its course. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The message gets
Um,
lost, all those kinds of things. Yeah.
yeah, man, the message gets lost. It had run its course. It was done, and you move on. No shame in that, in my opinion. Like, if that's the route it ends up going, there's no shame in that. So they move on to hire Stephen Glass. Starts out really well.
Yeah.
Then kind of starts to peter out a bit, and Aberdeen's not able to consistently win games. They're dominating possession. They're not able to break down a lot of the low blocks you see in Scotland. January window comes. Nothing really much happens in the January window as far as transfers are concerned. Kind of feels like there isn't a lot of faith there. By the end of the window, he's fired, and Jim Goodwin comes in. Come on down, Jim Goodwin. 3 years at St. Mirren. Before that, Alloa Athletic in Scotland. Before that, a playing career. A lot of it in Scotland and with the Irish national team. Well, Jim Goodwin takes control. Jim Goodwin's going to go back a little bit to, not even a little bit, to more of what you're getting out of the Derek McGinnis era. Now, problem is, and it was working early in the season. They had some really weird games. They had some games with cards going both directions that they were able to get really good results in. And there were some solid moments for them to build off of. Well, those moments seem to have dried up. They've lost 4 straight again. And now what my opening kickoff centers on, I had to preface all this to say, you're possibly in the exact same situation you were last year if you're Aberdeen, and it sucks for the fans. Because what you're looking at, in my opinion, is potentially a situation that is almost identical to last year, where a manager's lost 4 straight games. He lost 2 to the old firm. That happens. The first one was just basically anti-football against Celtic. The second one was the gut punch to end all gut punches. That was the one against Rangers, where you have the lead in the 92nd minute and then proceed to give up goals in like the 93rd, 95th minute and go from winning against Rangers, which would have been an absolutely brilliant response. And I think if you win that game, everything's okay. Even the next 2 results, they suck, but it's going to be okay. Then you lose. And then yesterday you lose to your former manager who's at Kilmarnock. And I want to know how much faith they have in him, honestly, because you're potentially looking at the same damn situation again, where if they get cold feet and they decide they don't have faith in him, are we going to be in a situation where Aberdeen is entering the January window, sitting right now in 4th place in Scotland? Now, if you don't know, Scotland does a split. They have 12 teams in the top flight. It's Jason's least favorite thing on earth, and it's something I like to remind him of probably every day.
Yes.
At the end of the season, Scotland does their split. I know other leagues do this as well. England doesn't, so England. The major leagues don't do it. The biggest leagues don't in Europe, so it's not as talked about. So you want to be in that top 6. They're in 4th right now. Problem is they're on like 25 points. Then it's like 25, 23, 22. Like, it's a really tight grouping in that top 6. They had a chance to get above the quagmire, and they instead slipped back into said quagmire. Are you going to be in the same situation where you don't have faith in the manager and the January window just goes kaput? Because you're approaching rotating door status at Aberdeen, and if you're trying to be the best of the rest, the best non-old firm club, that ain't the way to go about it. And I don't know if the perfect way to go about it was to bring in basically another version of Glassy, who maybe had more experience, or maybe thought like might be a better fit, or if you should have given him more time, or if you're this damn determined to stick with what you've got, if you ride out Jim Goodwin, if you want to get someone like Jim Goodwin, but maybe who has more experience, because Jim Goodwin's only had 2 hirings before this. Again, Alloa Athletic and St. Mirren, and then jumped to Aberdeen. And he was streaky at St. Mirren. So, I mean, he's streaky right now. That might continue. That might just be who he is right now as a manager and with what he's got. But if they just punt this window again because of a lack of confidence, I got nothing for him. And I pour one out for a number of the Aberdeen fans who I see through my feed all the time, because that'd be 2 straight January windows that you just punted on. And that sucks as a fan if you're in that situation.
Yeah, the 3-1 loss to St. Mirren day before Christmas, and then the 2-1 loss at Kilmarnock yesterday. Here's how it lays out. Celtic, and you've either played 17, 18, or 19 matches so far. Celtic has won 18 of 19. The other one they lost. 9 points
Celtic
clear.
hasn't lost a midweek match at home since 2016, by the way.
Wow.
Yeah. It's so stupid.
They're average.
Just put them in Rangers in England, for God's sakes. Drop them in League One and see what happens. Just please do it. Quit pretending.
Yeah. Rangers 9 points back. They've won 14 of 19. They've won 4 in a row. And this is where the fun starts. Hearts is at 28 points. They're unbeaten in their last 4. Aberdeen is at 25 points. They've lost 10 of their 19 matches that they've played this season. 25 points, goal difference of +1. St. Mirren has drawn 3 of their last 4. They are at -4 in goal difference at 25 points. St. Johnston's lost their last 2, but they're at 24. And then that's where the split begins. Livingston right now is at 24 points, goal difference of -10. They score less than a goal a game. And they are in 7th on goal difference. They've got some work to do, -10 to -5. Hibs has lost 4 of 5. They're at 23 points. And then you get your breathing room to Kilmarnock at 19, Motherwell 18, Dundee United at 16. Next up for Aberdeen at Pittodrie is Ross County. They've lost 12 of 19. And they've lost 4 in a row. And they're heading to Pittodrie, and that is the next match on the board on the 2nd of January for Aberdeen in a must-win situation. Otherwise, you thought it was ugly now. Ross County does something on the 2nd of January at Pittodrie, then all hell could break loose.
And then, but we're at that point, to my overarching thesis here is you don't want to be in this situation where, you're just – are you going to be going through managers and every January is, do we believe in him or not? And do we actually make moves that matter? Do we actually do anything to try and, grab a foothold in the league? Because I don't know if they're going to. I don't know if they're going to be able to. And by the way, all of this matters outside of the old firm now because of the work Rangers did last year and the year before in Europe. Scotland's coefficient, it's probably going to slip after them and Celtic embarrassing everybody this year in Europe.
Yeah.
But it's still high enough that you're looking at Europa Conference League play if you are finishing 3rd and 4th. Like, that's a possibility.
Yeah.
So you want to be in those 3-4 slots, maybe 5th. I forget how the breakdown is on the coefficient right now. You want to be in those slots because that's European games, and it's not Champions League money, but a little bit of something is better than a whole lot of nothing.
Mm-hmm. 'Tis true. And, we'll be obviously keeping an eye on it because of the vested interest and things like that we are looking at. So that's your opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com. And once again, reminder for those of you watching on Twitch, there's your QR code. Hit the QR code, Kickoff Coffee CO on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Use the code SoccerDownHere15. Get your 15% off of everything going on at Kickoff Coffee. And then they in turn take 10% reinvested into the youth game. Very cool stuff from our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Yesterday, we can laugh at Neymar, and we probably will, for his 2 yellows and the second one for simulation. And then he apparently walked out of the building. He left the Parc des Princes yesterday. Just like, dude, I'm out. Got my 2 yellows, and I'm walking out the door. And let me check something really quickly here. All right, so Ligue 1 and the next match. Hey, Jarrett, guess what? Guess when the next match for PSG is?
When's the next match for PSG, John?
New Year's Day. Neymar won't be at that match because of his red card. He gets New Year's Day off. Who knew?
He's going to be in Brazil, isn't he?
Probably. I was like, all right, so and see, and it's sad that we're kind of tracking this stuff now. Oh, he's injured. Oh, he's in Brazil. But yeah, now we're tracking holidays and things like
The
that.
man just likes his off days.
He likes his off days. So he gets 2 yellows yesterday in about a 10-minute span. He's done after 62, I think. And then it didn't hit me until we were just talking it through here. It's like, okay, wait a second. When's the next match for PSG? Sure enough, it's a roadie at Lens on New Year's Day, and they're the late game. Neymar saved himself from New Year's Eve and New Year's Day on traveling. And, Messi said he wasn't coming back till January 3rd or 4th. At least he laid that out for you. And so it took an Mbappe PK at 90+6 for them to get full points yesterday. But, Neymar, again, he's checking out on holidays. I mean, you got to give the guy you got to give the guy a lot of credit, Ricky Ricardo. Without question, Ricky, if he wasn't in Brazil for New Year's Eve, I'd be a little disappointed. I would too. It's like if you're going to go that far, if you're going to kvetch about the second yellow in a 10-minute span and you're done at 60 minutes and 30 minutes to go and you're out the door, I'd be disappointed if you weren't doing something on New Year's Eve someplace.
Yeah, I agree.
That's just me. You sit there and
Go live your best life, buddy.
Yeah.
Neymar's had a hard go of it. He had to watch Argentina lift the World Cup trophy. It was supposed to be Argentina and Brazil.
In the semi,
It was supposed to be them fighting on Mustafar for the chance to go win a World Cup and for one of them to get tossed into the lava. Instead, Brazil didn't even make it that far.
No.
They didn't make it out of the Jedi Temple.
No. Didn't even climb up the mountainside and get everything done. So, So that was the interesting point there. All right. So yesterday, let me go to the USL. And this was stuff, Badger, I know enough Yiddish to get me in trouble, to get me into a sentence and maybe not to get me out. But, Yiddish can be a definite, an advantageous language if you know the strategic ways to use it. But yeah, I know enough to get me into trouble, but not enough to get me out of trouble. All right. USL yesterday. And it's something to keep an eye on as we work our way through this. All right. So yesterday it was a full screen. And basically it was a sentence, a statement that was screen capped and started to circulate around the soccer world. So this was the statement that was given out yesterday by the PSRA board. PSRA board is providing the following update regarding USL's relationship with Pro in 2023. During the December 23rd, 2022 bargaining session between PSRA and Pro on the BU2 CBA, Pro's Nick Primavera stated to the PSRA bargaining committee that the USL decided its leagues will not be served by Pro in 2023. Apparently, and like I said, this is wording from the PSRA. Apparently, USL is going to other sources for refereeing services, including assignment of the matches for 2023, such as U.S. Soccer or other local assigners. No detail given after those two words, local assigners. Paragraph. Pro offered that USL's reasoning was that USL did not want to pay the training expenses Pro was proposing in addition to the administrative expenses Pro might incur in administering the refereeing of USL matches, e.g., office staff for expense report processing, travel support, processing of day of game issues, close parenthesis. Paragraph. Pro's Alex Pruss reiterated his disappointment in USL's decision and concerns about the quality of refereeing in USL for the future without a national view to the assignment of matches and centralized approach to training. The PSRA board and the bargaining committee agree with Alex. Pro reiterated NWSL and MLS Next Pro will be pro-serviced leagues in 2023. Your board and bargaining committee are discussing the issues and will work with Pro to understand the landscape of refereeing work in 2023. For our active officials, we don't yet know Pro's position on Pro 2 officials working in USL in 2023. For the BU2 officials, This will be subject to bargaining going forward. Please reach out to a board member if you have any questions or input through Unity and Strength PSRA board. So it appears, as of right now, Pro and the USL will not be shaking hands this season when it comes to officials, officiating, and the games that are across the board in USL League One, USL League Two, USLW, USLA, and anything else that's attached to the USL. Pro will not be a part, as of right now. Pro will not be a part of anything going on in the USL in 2023. So, and to Burn's point, Burn says he's watched a lot of soccer in his life, but have never seen as much consistently bad refereeing as in the USL. But we are now.
We discussed that many times after games with Man United too.
Yeah.
Who was the Demyanchuk?
Sergei Demyanchuk?
Demyanchuk? Yeah, man. My favorite one still is the Atlanta United 2 game. I think it was last year, where there was a fight on the touchline right before halftime where, like, I forget who Atlanta was playing. Whoever the hell they were playing, somebody started a fight and, like, did something dumb to get ejected and red carded and sent off immediately. And then, like, Darwin Mateus got red carded too for no good reason. Like, we went back and watched the replay. Darwin had the misfortune of being there and getting shoved. Didn't really do anything, and the ref sent them both off as if to be like, no, everyone's getting timeout. When he didn't do anything that we saw. And, like, God bless Jack Collison, who every game, aside from answering my rambling questions after games about kids playing and just getting the snot beat out of them at times, like, also somehow managed to answer my questions about refereeing and decisions without blowing a gasket or throwing a chair or even cursing.
Right.
Like, Jack Collison deserves a gold star for that alone, because you could watch him if you ever got a chance to watch them, like, go in the past, get in a time machine, go to a game and just watch Jack. Watch his mannerisms and watch the degree to which he is trying not to blow up and tie the fourth official into a granite knot. At any given moment. Yeah, it's pro, but the referees in USL were just, like, cartoonishly inconsistent. To the point where you're like, this is a work, right?
Yeah. But now, and Byrne is helping us out. He says Byrne knows which game it was. It was the ref with the ponytail. And I'm trying to remember. I thought it was I want
to say it was like Tulsa or somebody. It was like a Midwestern team or something like that. Like, I forget, but yeah, it was hilarious because, like, you got players shoving. Darwin Mateus just happens to be there getting shoved and get sent off. And the look on his face coming off the field is, like, one of both shock and, like, almost, like, fear, where he's, like, looking at Jack. He's like, I didn't do anything. And Jack's like, yeah, I know. It's okay. Don't worry about it. And God, it was so weird. It was so dumb. But yeah, they made a lot of really questionable decisions in those games. But it's not just Atlanta. You go look at USL games. Go look at the comment threads. Never read the comments, but go do it in this case.
Yeah.
Of other games, of other teams around the country. Officiating was a common issue. It was a really annoying issue.
Yeah.
It impacted the playoffs. It's rough.
And now,
if they're going to go through U.S. soccer, I want to see how this works.
Yeah.
Because, like, pro kind of has, like, a Teamsters feel to it of, like, or if you ever saw the movie Death to Smoochie, one of the great cult classics in the early 2000s with Edward Norton and Robin Williams, about people working in children's television, where, like, he does an ice show and, like, basically it's supposed to be the March of Dimes, but they call it the Parade of Hope. And it's, what's his name? John, help me out here.
I'm trying.
Harvey Lemstein, I think is his name. The actor, like the deep gravelly voice.
Oh man.
He plays like the head of it, and like they're just telling him like, you don't say no to them. It's like it feels weird to see someone say no to pro and just be like, no, we're not doing this with you.
Yeah.
That's where I'm going with this. Like,
Yeah. All right, so I'm having to look up Death to Smoochie on IMDb.
it's a great movie. It is a good bad movie. It's not a great film by any stretch of the imagination.
Vincent Chiavelli, Buggy Ding Dong, or
no, it's Harvey something. I forget his name.
Firestein.
Harvey Firestein. Thank you.
Yeah, Merv Green. Okay, yeah.
Harvey Firestein was also in Independence Day.
Yes, he was.
Yeah, like you don't say. It's kind of like you don't say no to those guys.
Yeah.
And it feels weird to be like. It feels weird for the second tier in American soccer to be like, pro, we're okay. We'll go through U.S. soccer. We'll do our own thing. I want to see how it works. I want to see how efficiently it's able to go, and I'll be watching this. I'll still be watching USL too because Sicko's energy doesn't sleep.
No. Trying to.
Yes, Badger got me.
Yeah.
Harvey Firestein.
So
he got us too.
I'm trying to go back and see if I can find that match with the cards and such. And so, like I said,
Burns right. But I don't think he threw it. I think he tossed it to him. Didn't rear back. I think you're right to an extent, Burn. I'd have to go back, and maybe my red and black glasses are on. If I'm not mistaken, Darwin flips the ball to the guy or something, or plays keep away with it. You're time wasting after the ball goes out, and he just starts dribbling on the guy after the ball's out. The dude picks it up and just fires it right at Darwin. I think is what it was.
Yeah.
Darwin had absolutely done something to earn a yellow card, but I don't remember it being a red card worthy offense, and the ref just reds everybody anyway. I'd have to go back and find it as well. I think it was Darwin who got the red, but I'll go back and look for it later, and I'll drop it in the Discord if I can find it.
Yeah, see, now you've got me going back through the schedule and trying to find that particular match. But no, I mean,
I'll check results later, and I'll let everybody know if I can find it. I'll tag people in it.
Yeah. So yeah, if you can.
Point being, just I want to see how this works without pro.
Yes, I want to see how this works without pro, and I know that a lot of folks, when they initially saw this,
April 10th against Detroit City. My God, man, you are a beast.
Wow.
Good work.
Okay, so
they ended up losing that game 3-1, I think, 4-1, something like that.
4-0.
4-0.
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew they gave up a slew of goals.
Yeah, so Darwin got a red in the 79th, and Nigel Prince got a red 7 minutes later. No cards given to Detroit City in that.
No, that's not the one I'm thinking about then.
Yeah.
I'll go look it up because this was right before halftime. Was the one I'm thinking of. I don't mean to hang up on this because I got a shorter span than usual today. We will find it. We will find it together.
Yes.
Burn, that's one of them. The other one, the one I'm thinking of happened right before halftime, is right in front of the fourth official. It was just weird. That one, I remember that one, having two reds, and you're like, this is fine. Team, a really young team that's already missing guys who should be veterans because, some of those guys are either hurt or getting pulled up to the first team because the first team is actively dying. This is fun. Down 2 men against Detroit City, who's kind of built to muscle you around. Yeah, this one didn't poorly at all.
Yeah. So, all right. So looking at, I'm looking at FOT Mob. I'm going all over the place. See, this is the kind of beautiful thing that we sit here and we look at red cards and things. So, red card. Man, I'm looking at all competitions, USL championships. All right. So there's Darwin. I'm trying to find it. Yeah, that's the 4-0 win against Detroit City. That's where he's got his red. So that's it. It would have to be
somebody else got the red then. Don't worry about it. I'll go through results later. I can just go through results and find cards.
Yeah, okay. So find your card and let us know tomorrow where we found the tracking of the red card, and you get a red and you get a red and you get a red and all that kind of stuff.
Point
So
being, Pro to Burns' point, yeah, Pro was bad last year in USL. Pro has never been really wonderful. As I to Ismail Elfat, though, because he's one of the best damn officials of the World Cup this year.
yes,
He got to do, he wasn't the center rep, but he got to do the World Cup final, and the man earned it. He was great at the World Cup and represented represented CONCACAF really well in that respect, and that's awesome to see.
yes.
Just need more Ismail Elfats in MLS. Need more of that and less Baldomero Toledos in my life.
Joe Dickerson. The thought. Yeah, there you go. Burns says the thing about USL refereeing is that I was always really surprised when the ref was actually good.
Agreed.
Only happened like 2 or 3 times over 3 seasons. All the other games, it was usually atrocious.
No, he's right, and that was a point we talked about. Matina and I would talk about in the press box all the time. Was this ref's doing a great job. Like I worked a game. One of the games I called with you, John. The ref was great. The ref was like, we did one game where the ref was great. I remember like messaging Jason because he was on the road with Atlanta United, and I remember telling him like, "Hey, so and so ref this game. He was great," and he was like, "BS." I'm like, no, he was really good. I forget who it was, but it was like one of those where you're like, we saw the name and we were just sitting there, oh God, this is going to be an absolute train wreck. And it was really good, but to Burns' point, it's not a good sign when that referee wasn't a tire fire, was like a cause for excitement.
Yes. When you're going through the negative and you anticipate a negative and you come out with a positive, that's not really a shining endorsement of your product. If you're sitting there saying, man, you didn't suck. You don't want to do those kinds of things. Emilio's thrown Drew Fisher into the pile as
sure, why not?
As a center ref that doesn't garner a whole lot of positivity. But yeah, I mean, and this is why I wanted to bring it up this morning, is because we know the state of officiating in lower divisions, and this is with pro attached. So if you can't be in a situation where you have young officials, and I mean that in experience, not necessarily on the driver's license, but if you have officials who are just starting out through pro, where are they going to be able to learn? Now it's going to be NWSL and MLS Next Pro, as opposed to all of the reps that they could be getting in USL. And so now you're going to be creating a bit of a log jam for assignments and trying to get trying to get officials reps and experience and growth, so you can grow the officiating game from the ground up. And
I assume they'd be doing MLS Next Pro now,
yeah. But when you have MLS Next Pro, NWSL, and you had all of the USL matches that you could sit there and have them assigned to in League One, League Two, WA, all of those places, and now all of that is taken away from you. You're hoping that the hourglass, that all of that sand that's trying to get through that funnel at the bottom of the hourglass, you hope that you're getting the reps that everybody needs. And that to me is the larger picture in this, at least for me anyway. It's like, okay, yeah, you had all of these different places where you could get reps and you could learn, but now the USL has decided, okay, we don't want, we're not going to associate with pro for these reasons. And if it's, if it's the reasons that were put out there, and it seems like it's financial, that to me is a concern, that you're putting financials ahead of the growth of officials. And that to me it's a disappointing aspect, although I don't know, and I don't have it in front of me, the amount of investment that it would normally take on a yearly basis to do those things that were laid out, office staff, travel support, processing day of game issues. And it's, in addition to, so pro, and this is paragraph 3, pro offered USL's reasoning was that USL did not want to pay the training expenses pro was proposing in addition to the administrative expenses pro might incur in administering the refereeing of USL matches. So it's training plus administrative expenses. I wonder what that number is and how much of a setback it is when you're having that kind of investment. So that's what I'm going to be looking at, and obviously looking at the USL officials and seeing where that talent pool comes from, Jarrett, come 2022. And I know that you're up against it, and that's why I wanted to let you have the last word.
No, it's going to be interesting to see how USL handles this. It's going to be interesting to see how the valuation comes out with the word that Loudoun United's possibly going to be sold. What's the value of a USL franchise, even a lower one like Loudoun United? That's not like I say lower one, not to slander Loudoun or diminish them, but they're not one of the bigger franchises yet.
Right.
And maybe as operating as an independent entity, they can become that. But what's the valuation look like of them, and how does USL move forward as their own independent creature? Really, for so long they were not tied at the hip, but they had that relationship with MLS, and that seems to be going by the wayside. So what's next? What you gonna do?
And to your point about Loudoun, this comes from Stephen Goff. The owner of the Bowie Bay Sox in Frederick Keys is finalizing the purchase of Loudoun United. This is from a couple days ago. Greg Baroni, a tech exec who owns those two, close to finalizing a deal to buy a controlling stake in Loudoun United. Less than a year ago, Baroni's Attain Sports and Entertainment purchased the Bowie Bay Sox, the AA affiliate for the Orioles, and the Frederick Keys, a collegiate summer team that until 2021 was a Class A affiliate of the Orioles for 31 years. So Baroni would become operating partner of Loudoun United, preparing for their fifth year in USL Championship, said two people who spoke on the condition of anonymity to discuss the matter. DC United, they said, would continue to own a considerable share in the team, though details were not immediately available. Baroni, who is the chair of the Northern Virginia Technology Council, did not respond to an email seeking comment. DC United officials said they didn't want to comment either, and it would come. The ownership change would come as MLS and USL cut ties. Goff goes to mention League One and MLS Next Pro and all that kind of stuff. In 2023, Loudoun United expected to be the only USL championship team with MLS connection. So we'll keep an eye on that, obviously, with what's going on.
That's contractual, by the way. That's not like that's what we want to do. That's just contractual.
Right. So that's and the deal was that if Loudoun was to play at Segra, they had to stay second level or higher. They could not drop to a third division or lower. You're back with us tomorrow to wrap up 2022?
That's the plan.
All right. So we will have Jarrett back with us tomorrow as a part of what is going on. Have not heard anything about Baltimore MLS Next Pro, Ricky, but happened yesterday. And I'll post it again after the show is over this morning. Cleveland is looking to add MLS Next Pro independent by 2025. We caught up with their CEO yesterday, and that interview is on the network. And I have not, Ropes, seen a schedule for MLS Next Pro yet. When we get closer to probably after the first of the year, get into training camps and things like that, that's probably when you're going to end up getting your schedule for MLS Next Pro. And I know that a lot of folks are sitting there and wondering about venue as well for Atlanta United 2 and where they will end up next year. No word on that yet. And so when we know, obviously, we'll let you know, and then we'll talk about it and get ready for the MLS Next Pro season. It was good to catch up with Marco Micheletto and Coleman Gannon, who won a title with Columbus Crew 2. And so we'll hit MLS Next Pro as hard as humanly possible, and we know more when it comes to that kind of stuff. That was one of the things that I wanted to get into this morning, was to just kind of let you know about what's going on with MLS Next Pro and with USL and Pro. And so we'll talk about that as things continue to develop there as well. Okay, this morning, since it is, like I said, today and tomorrow, we're wrapping up 2022. And what I wanted to do this morning also was kind of go back into 2022 and let you guys let me know about your best, your superlatives for 2022 as a season. your favorite matches, who's your MVP of MVPs, who did you enjoy seeing grow in 2022 when it came to the activity that you watched, and where did you go in person to watch matches outside of, say, Atlanta United? Was there anything collegiate, high school, lower division? Where else did you go see matches? Those kinds of things. So that's your 2022 assignment for today and tomorrow. Favorite matches of the year, favorite player that your MVP of MVPs, who impressed you in 2022 as a player, growth curve, that kind of a thing, and where did you go and watch matches that you got to add to your bucket? You got to take off your bucket list. You got to add to your list that's on the fridge and took off your bucket list for going to see things. So that's the 2022 assignments for today. So let me know about your best stubs for 2022, and we will go through that today and tomorrow. So we'll start it today, and obviously we'll talk about it tomorrow. And then Monday, we'll do New Year's resolutions, both personal and soccer. So we'll get into that as well later on today. And Ricky, right off the top, mentioned it. And so it was on the list of things to talk about. And I want to discuss this. So here we go. Mark Ogden over at the Four Letter, and this came out about 5:30 this morning. So a couple of and Burned, you found it. Fantastic. Fantastic. Well done. Matias Benitez, before we get into the Russia story, Matias Benitez, who got the red July 4th, fireworks, against Memphis, and the ref was Joshua Belk. Okay, so now we got it. All right, so Russia, Mark Ogden about 5:30 this morning came up with this story. The Russian Football Union, the RFU, is going to hold an executive committee meeting tomorrow to discuss resigning from UEFA, European football's governing body, in order to move to the Asian Football Confederation, sources have told ESPN. All Russian clubs and national teams suspended from competitive football by FIFA and UEFA in February after the invasion of Ukraine, and with the conflict ongoing, the suspension remains in place. And like I said, this is Ogden talking. But despite the global ban on its teams competing on the club and international stage, sources have said the RFU, irony, believes a move to the Asian organization would enable Russian teams to return to action in a more welcoming environment if or when FIFA ends its ban on Russia participating in the sport at a competitive level. What it would also do is probably give Russia a bit of a runway, and they could qualify a lot easier for things if they went through the Asian organization and didn't stick with UEFA. Sorry, that was my sidebar. Quote, in the current geopolitical realities, the presence of the RFU in UEFA contradicts the national interests of Russia. Roman Teryushkov, the deputy of the State Duma, told sports.ru, quote, it is impossible to build sports friendship with countries unfriendly to us and with constant poking from the collective West, end quote. Whatever, jackass. A meeting was held in Moscow. This is Ogden continuing. A meeting was held in Moscow on December 23rd to discuss the possibility of a transition to Asia. Sources have said a final decision could be made by the executive committee on Friday. Almost 75% of Russia's landmass is in Asia. Sources have said UEFA is monitoring the situation and is waiting for Russia to clarify its position. Russia is one of 55 full-member associations of UEFA and was due to host the 2022 Champions League final in St. Petersburg until the game was switched to Paris as a result of the invasion of Ukraine. No nations have previously resigned from UEFA, but there is a precedent for the AFC in terms of accepting countries from outside the Confederation. Australia now participate as an Asian nation after joining in 2006 following their resignation from the Oceania Football Confederation. Whatever floats your boat, frankly. Roman, whatever floats your boat. You want to go to the Asian Fed because you think it'll be more friendly. It's impossible to build sports friendship with countries unfriendly to us and with constant poking from the collective West. Sorry, I'm in that kind of a mood this morning. My my limits for BS are very, very low this morning. And when Roman Teryushkov comes across my bow, yeah. The presence of the RFU in UEFA contradicts the national interests of Russia. What's that? Like, not bloodshed? Actually peace? Not invading countries? Impossible to build sports friendship with countries unfriendly to us and constant poking from the collective West. Well, if you didn't start wars and invade countries thinking it was, some manifest destiny-ish, then, maybe we wouldn't be having this conversation. You would have had your Champions League final. But, whatever floats your boat, Roman, you go have fun. But, yeah, I thought that was that needed to be out there this morning. And, so we'll keep an eye on Russia. They want to move to the Asian Fed. You move to the Asian Fed. You have fun. You have fun, young man. Also, getting into other things this morning. Kylian Mbappe has brushed off futile Emi Martinez World Cup taunts. He dismissed the taunts from Emi Martinez as futile, scoring the hat trick. Martinez mocked Mbappe during the Argentina celebrations, calling for a minute's silence for the forward in the dressing room, holding a doll with his face on it during the open-top bus parade in Buenos Aires. Still, Unai Emery said he will speak to the keeper about his actions. Come on. I legitimately fear for Emi Martinez's future at Aston Villa. If Unai Emery doesn't want, Unai Emery does not want Emi Martinez to be a part of things at Aston Villa, you better find yourself a quality keeper to keep you up in the Premier League. And we'll get into the Premier League news here in just a little bit. First round of festive fixtures is finally beside us. And if you missed Prem and Proper, it's on the network as well. That came out last night, going over the first round of the festive fixtures matchups. But if you don't want Emi Martinez, you better find a suitable substitute. That's all I can say. We'll speak to the keeper about his actions. Mbappe, quote, "The celebrations, they're not my problem. I don't waste energy on such futile things. The important thing for me is to give the best of myself for my club, and we'll wait for Leo to come back and continue to score and win matches." And, so we'll keep an eye on Emi Martinez and his future. But Mbappe doesn't get drawn into those kinds of things. Kirkland and Faez this morning. Carlo Ancelotti has said Karim Benzema is excited, motivated to prove himself with Real Madrid. Suffered a thigh injury 3 days before France were due to play their first game in Qatar, leading coach Didier Deschamps to withdraw him from the squad. Remember the talk that we had about his agent, Benzema's agent, saying that he had proof he was healthy and was wondering why he wasn't a part of the active roster. Ancelotti in a news conference earlier today. I won't get into the decision that France took. They evaluated Karim's situation in the moment. For them, he wasn't going to be able to play again at the World Cup. They let him go. For us, the players come back with a lot of excitement and a lot of motivation. He knows that he didn't do what he wanted to in the first part of the season. In the second part, I'm convinced he'll do well and he'll help us a lot. Hamstring issues meant Benzema just started 7 of Real Madrid's 14 league matches before the World Cup. He scored 5 times. Expected to feature when the teams return to La Liga action away at Real Valladolid on Friday. Ancelotti said Karim came back December 10 after his holidays. When he got back, he was fine. Started working with the team, played 30 minutes on our first friendly, 45 in the second, little by little, getting better. Didn't play much in the first half of the season. Now he'll show his quality. Ancelotti said Madrid, who earlier in the month moved to wrap up a deal for Endrick to arrive in 2024 when he turns 18, not planning to add to their squad in January. We'll keep an eye on that. Ancelotti, for sure the window's closed for arrivals. We don't need players. The squad is well put together. As for departures, it depends on what the players think, especially those who played less. They have an opportunity with a team where they could play more, but arrivals, no. So if you're a fan of Real Madrid, and if you're a fan of Real Madrid, outbound maybe, inbound not so much. Yesterday, and we'll go through the first round of festive fixtures here to wrap up hour number 1. Erling Haaland, and remember when folks said that they didn't know if Erling Haaland could handle the Premier League? Erling Haaland scored a double in the second half against Leeds yesterday. 19th in 20 goals. First in league history to reach the mark before January. 35 points, 15 matches, 5 behind Arsenal. And right now, you have, with Erling Haaland, 20 goals on the year. So let's go into the standings right now in England. 20 goals. Checking the standings in the league. Let's go to the bottom half of the table, shall we? All right, so 20, Erling Haaland. More than 14, more than 11, more than 10, more than 12, more than 13, more than 18, more than 17, more than 15, more than 19. Erling Haaland, who was supposed to be having problems scoring in the Premier League. I don't know if he can handle it. Forget what nebulous talk show host. I think it was one of the Talk Sport guys who said that. Pardon me for saying it. Okay. And I admit that was almost for dramatic effect. But Erling Haaland has scored 20 of Manchester City's 43 goals this year. Erling Haaland on his own has more goals than Chelsea, more goals than Crystal Palace, more goals than Aston Villa, more goals than Bournemouth, more goals than West Ham, more goals than Everton, more goals than Wolves, more goals than Forest, and more goals than Southampton. 9 of the 20 teams in the Premier League, 9 of the 20 teams in the Premier League have scored less goals than Erling Haaland has. Let that sink in for a second. Erling Haaland with 20. Chelsea, Palace, Villa, Bournemouth, and the bottom 5. West Ham, Everton, Wolves, Forest, Southampton. More than the bottom 5, more than almost half of the teams in the blanking Premier League. So much for not being able to handle the Premier League, eh? Yeah, so we'll keep an eye on that. Yeah. Yeah. Morning, Dawn Star. Good to see you. Ricky, the Jude Bellingham smoke feels it's not going away. Pep Guardiola wants all the toys. And if that means that they're going to win all the championships, you get all the toys to do it, and your owners are going to let you do it, then that's what's going to happen. Emmy Martinez, yeah, speak to him, move on, please. Yes, he is needed at Villa. And the idea for the Russians, the attempt to gaslight UEFA is weird. You know, I don't know what you think your end game is in attempting to gaslight Aston Villa. No, I mean, to gaslight UEFA, sorry. If you're trying to gaslight UEFA, we're going to go to the Asian Confederation because you don't like us. What's your end game anyway? It's like, look, you'd be winning more. You'd be in a higher position. You probably would have only Australia as competition. Australia, New Zealand, South Korea. I think you'd probably have a better chance of qualifying at things if you went to the Asian Federation, but that's just me. But, fine. You don't like us. We're going. Fine, go. That's how I would be if I was UEFA. If I was UEFA in their front office, I'd be fine, go. You ain't playing anytime soon anyway. So knock yourself out there, slick. All right. Coming up on top of the hour. And so that means one thing. As we go over and wander into the music, I have to constantly adjust it. It always goes back to its default number. And I don't know why that is. You think you'd adjust it and sit there and it would stick, but no, it won't. But since it is 10 o'clock, we're getting close to 10 o'clock. It's time to hit the music and discuss promos. Time to catch up about our friends from Lemonize Service. For odor-free, clean, fresh air, one place you need to go, and it's our friends at Lemonize. Lemonize deodorizing enclosed spaces like houses, apartments, and condos. Created a customized solution that eliminizes all organic odors, including those like pets, cigarettes, and food. Realtors and property managers use the Lemonize service to eliminate bad odors to help them sell rent their homes that much faster. It's a turnkey process. Makes it easy to work with said realtors and property managers. Kind of the environment. We like that these days. Very green way to get rid of odors without any kind of toxic residue whatsoever. Different than Febreze or our favorite masking agents that we have either under the sink or above us in the cupboard, because when we reach under the sink or above us in the cupboard, we grab that masking agent, spray it in the air. There's the reason they call it a masking agent. You're masking the odors. You're not attacking the problem all the way down to the molecule like our friends at Eliminize do with their proven scientific formula. Pricing very, very easy. One of two ways, either by the cubic foot or parts per million to come back with a price that's affordable for you, offering results in 24 hours or less. Any questions, frequently asked or otherwise, one place that you need to go, it's their website, where I pick up my pen. Go to their website, eliminize.com, but do us a favor. After the .com, go /Atlanta so they know what part of the world that you are addressing them from, where they can help you tackle your issue. Full homework assignment, eliminize.com /Atlanta, eliminize.com /Atlanta for odor-free, clean, fresh air. Eliminize Service, proud sponsors of everything SPH on a Thursday. We want to thank our friends at Eliminize for being sponsors here for SPH all season long. See if we can get the fade going. See what happens with the fade. And it just crashes out at like 6. You know, you get to like 6 and you don't hear it anymore. Maybe that's just me. I don't know. But let's see. Did we kill the music? Yeah, we did kill the music. Okay. So I'm legitimately always concerned about those kinds of things. Did I kill the music? Because, you know, did I kill the loop? Did I kill the music? Did I do it the right way? I'm always concerned about that kind of stuff. But since it is hour number 2.
Let me talk to you.
There you go. Good morning. So, you know, when you got all of this stuff going on, let's get into a bit of the gossip, rumor, and innuendo that we have going on today. And we'll get into the Club Brugge firing in just a little bit. Very, very strange. You know, you're fourth, you're doing well, and then you decide to fire your manager. We'll get into the details of that in just a little bit. So getting into gossip, rumor, and innuendo. You know, obviously on Prem and Proper, we talked about what's going on with Mykhailo Mudryk. Shakhtar Donetsk is looking for a larger fee up front. Dario Serna, the sporting director, is still looking for a fee in the neighborhood of $60 million or 60 million pounds to move Mudryk to Arsenal. We'll keep an eye on that. Real Madrid was going to prioritize a deal for Jude Bellingham in 2023, and the 19-year-old is set to choose the Spanish side over Liverpool. That's according to our friends at Goal. Bellingham will sit down with Borussia Dortmund in January to discuss his future. Liverpool, Juve, Benfica, Borussia Dortmund interested in Brighton's and Argentina's Alexis McAllister. He might be available for between 31 and 35 million pounds. I still think that price is probably going to go up. That's from our friends at La Repubblica. And Brighton, once again, doing a fantastic piece of business, bringing in a talent and taking advantage of it at the right time. Manchester United and Spurs have opened talks with Rennes over 25-year-old French striker Martin Terrier, who is valued at 34 million pounds over the summer. Manchester City are willing to offer AC Milan Jack Grealish in exchange for Rafael Leao. That's from our friends at Calcio Mercato. Chelsea told Benfica they will meet the 105 million pound release clause in the contract of Enzo Fernandez. So it's going to be a race for Enzo Fernandez, but that information comes to us from the 3-letter paper, so take the information at your own peril. Manchester United, Arsenal, and Chelsea have reservations about meeting Atletico Madrid's 8 million pound loan fee for Joao Felix, according to our friends at Talk Sport. But there's also discussions that Atletico wants the loan club that is interested to pick up the wage bill as well, which would be another 8. So it would be a 16 million pound investment in Joao Felix that teams are not willing to keep an eye on. Spurs have made a 13 million pound offer for Barcelona's Franck Kessie. Chelsea interested in Celtic and Croat defender Josip Juranovic as a replacement for Reece James, and Reece James is going to be out for a while, courtesy of our friends at Sky. Chelsea are also monitoring Inter Milan's 26-year-old Netherlands defender Denzel Dumfries, who's also on Manchester United's radar. Newcastle have ruled out signing Jorginho. Arsenal in a pole position to sign Sergei Milinkovic-Savic. That's from Corriere dello Sport. Shakhtar said they almost won €100 million for Mykhailo Mudryk. And so, once again, that's from Calcio Mercato. We'll keep an eye on that number. $100 million is what I had seen initially, but Dario Serna in other discussions with, I want to say it was Adam Crafton at The Athletic, or David Ornstein. It was conversations that were published in The Athletic that he might accept 60 if it's cash. Manchester United is going to focus on next year's summer transfer window instead of spending in January. Atletico Madrid and Alvaro Morata. He is a loan target for Manchester United. If I could read my verbs right, then we'd know what's going on. Bournemouth have joined Leicester in expressing interest in Atalanta's former Chelsea winger Jeremy Boga, with the 25-year-old Ivory Coast international available on loan. Once again, that's from the four-letter paper, so take the information at your own peril. Newcastle midfielder Jonjo Shelvey needs to start 2 more matches to earn a 1-year contract extension, but he's sidelined for up to 8 weeks with a calf injury and has 6 months left on his current deal. That's from the four-letter paper. Leeds are also closing in on the deal for RB Salzburg captain and Austria defender Maximilian Vober. Everton are also interested. That comes from our friend Fabrizio Romano. So that's one version. Let's get into the papers and get into paper talk and transfer talk as well. You look at, let's see if we can find the paper talk. Yeah, Erling Haaland on course for 63 goals. That's just crazy. But yeah, he can't handle the Premier League. Avoiding the 3-letter paper as we are always want to do. Daily Express. Chelsea stolen a march on Liverpool and Manchester United in a race to sign Enzo Fernandez. Could smash their transfer record for the second time in 18 months to do so. Liverpool may require special dispensation from the Premier League for new signing Cody Gakpo to make his debut against Brentford on Monday. They've also been told to avoid paying a stupid amount of money for Jude Bellingham and instead sign 2 players who can improve Jurgen Klopp's squad at a lower price. The Spurs have been told to make 2 potential statement signings in the form of Josko Vardiol and Achraf Hakimi. Evening Standard, we mentioned Enzo Fernandez. Chelsea will be one of the busiest clubs in the January transfer window with both short and long-term problems to solve at Stamford Bridge. Fulham expected to make a formal offer for Arsenal defender Cedric Suarez in the coming days. Avoiding the 4-letter paper, going to the Daily Telegraph. Newcastle redrawing their January transfer plans to include the search for a midfield playmaker with Moises Caicedo. Wonder where you heard about Moises Caicedo. And Leicester City's Yuri Tielemans as interest. And the Reece James' latest knee injury has sparked anger from the personal trainer who works with some of the Chelsea squad. And new Liverpool forward Cody Gakpo has barely trained since the World Cup, may require a period of conditioning before he's ready to make his debut. So here's your conflicting info. Might need to train more, but Liverpool wants special dispensation to have him ready for the weekend. Athletic, Christian Eriksen believes Manchester United have moved on from the saga surrounding CR37's sudden departure from Old Trafford, no doubt. Daily Mirror, Chase Spearing rushed to the hospital on Christmas Eve with the Liverpool coach revealing his body was threatening to shut down. And Leeds fans have brutally mocked Calvin Phillips with a ruthless chant after Manchester City boss Pep Guardiola accused him of being overweight. In the Times, Cody Gakpo revealed Virgil van Dijk convinced him to sign for Liverpool after completing the £37 million move to Anfield. And Reece James' personal trainer has appeared to suggest that there were issues around the defender's return to action after he suffered the injury setback that'll keep him out a month. Daily Record, Celtic are a number of clubs keen on Rosenborg striker Kasper Tengsted, and Motherwell boss Stevie Hamill admits he can't wait to hit the January sales window. So Motherwell is looking forward to it. Hearts right now is in 3rd, but I wanted to get into the discussion with Jarrett in hour number 1 about what we're not seeing from Aberdeen, and Hearts right now at number 3. So will the cycle repeat itself at Aberdeen? Ross County's coming up next after the first of the year, so we'll keep an eye on what we're seeing there. In the transfer news, obviously the talks are continuing over Mykhailo Mudryk. Sergei Palkin has, the chief executive for Shakhtar Donetsk, has confirmed that the negotiations are continuing. The opening offer from Arsenal was around $55 million, including add-ons, and that got rejected. So that's where we are. They've yet to meet the demands of the parent club. Payment structure also being discussed. Shakhtar values Mudryk, according to Sky Sports News, at £85 million. So we're in between 60 and 100. So pretty much what we figured. Sergei Palkin said, quote, we receive offers, but they're not the ones we would like to see on our table. Now, literally in 5 minutes, I'll have a phone conversation with Arsenal, open to negotiations, ready to exchange ideas and figures. If we will agree, then let it be so. If we will not, then let it be another time. Mudryk has played just 8 times for a country, yet to score a goal in international football, one of the top 5 wingers in the world. Shakhtar believe he's better than Antony at Manchester United, who cost $86 million from Ajax in the summer, using that as their benchmark in negotiation. And so, we'll keep an eye on that. Benfica's president Rui Costa insists clubs interested in Enzo Fernandez have to pay that 120 million euro release clause in January. Times reported that Benfica attempting to persuade Fernandez to remain at the club until the summer amid Chelsea's interest. So, will Enzo Fernandez stay? We know folks are going to trigger that $120 million or 120 million euro release clause, but we'll keep an eye on that. And Vinny O'Connor at Sky's wondering if Liverpool can boost the midfield in January. Steve Cooper, and I give Steve Cooper a lot of credit. Steve Cooper showed up after losing during festive fixtures. He showed up on NBC Sports postgame show. He showed up on Premier League Live to discuss what's going on with Nottingham Forest. I mean, stand-up dude. But as the continuing of signing players goes, and the joke will continue until it's more points for Nottingham Forest than signees, Steve Cooper has said that, Tom, we'll get into the note from Joseph yesterday, because there is something, there is a story behind it, and we'll get into it. It's real quick here, just a second. Nottingham Forest Steve Cooper said the club has to sign players who will make a difference in their fight for Premier League survival. Already revealed Forest will add to the squad in the January window, despite making 22 signings in the summer following their promotion, and they are not ashamed to do so. Wants any new recruits to come in and help save them. For quote, the first idea of players coming in will be to improve the starting team. Maybe we have to think about some strength and depth in some positions because of injuries. If we bring players in, we need to bring players that can go straight on the pitch and make a difference. Although we were doing okay just before the break, a little bit better, not quite where we want to be. We're still in the position we're in. We need to do things a lot better than what we've done so far. To do that, you have to change the team up a little bit, but the squad changed a little bit and look for the right solutions to improve. I trust the club to do what they think is right, and a lot of good communications going on, and we will see where it takes us. Brazilian Gustavo Scarpa became the 23rd signing a few weeks ago when he agreed to a free following the expiration of his Palmeiras contract. Officially joins January 1, not available for New Year's Day due to the window not opening until the full round of games have been played. And so that's the special dispensation that Liverpool is looking for Cody Gakpo. Middlesbrough is showing strong interest in Sunderland striker Ross Stewart. Can Liverpool come back next season with a bang? That's another question. Does Rashford's form mean United don't need an out-and-out striker? That's a question for Manchester United. Will Jorginho sign a new deal with Chelsea? His agent, João Santos, according to Fabrizio Romano, received a proposal from Chelsea to sign a new contract, so it's our priority to discuss with Chelsea. Napoli interest? We'd be happy of their interest. It's a special club for Jorginho, but there's nothing as of now, end quote. And Bournemouth and Leicester in the hunt for Jeremy Boga. We talked about that. And Andre Santos is arriving in London to undergo medical, then sign a long-term deal with Chelsea. 12.5 million euro has been signed with Vasco da Gama. No loan back to Vasco. At the moment he's staying, then the decision will be made. And so we'll keep an eye on all of that. Now, Tom, I know that you wanted to get into the Joseph Martinez thing that we saw yesterday all across social media. And yes, it is. Kefsi and Emilio are correct. It is the Dia de los Inocentes. And it is nonsense. And Kefsi is correct. It is the Day of the Innocents. And the Day of the Innocents is basically similar to April Fool's Day in certain cultures. So, I mean, you saw there was stuff yesterday. Chicharito was going to go play for an indoor soccer club. Joseph to Caracas. That is what it is. It is Dia de los Inocentes. So keep an eye, and as we get into the January window, obviously look at sources. But yes, the 28th of December is the Day of the Innocents. So on social media, you will see things like you saw yesterday. Short version, nothing to it. April Fool's Day, Dia de los Inocentes. So that's what it was. So yes, Kefsi, Emilio, you're 100% correct. It was Day of the Innocents, and it was just April Fools and posting things and seeing how many folks would jump. And yes, so yes, it was nonsense. Joseph to Caracas. Thiago Almada back to Argentina, those kinds of things. But we'll keep an eye on it. But the biggest thing we always try to tell you, watch your sources. Yeah, watch your sources. But yeah, yesterday, the 28th of December, and I feel like probably on the 28th of December, we probably should put a crawl at the bottom of the screen for those watching live on Twitch. Day of the Innocents, Dia de los Inocentes. Keep an eye on those kinds of things. But yeah, Dia de los Inocentes was yesterday. So, yes, you saw that with a lot of folks. Kefsi, all these rumored transfers from AC Milan probably as the rest of Serie A prepping for the Rossoneri to raid their rosters for replacements. See, this is where we need to get Nick on. So, Kefsi, next time Nick is on, we'll talk about everything from a Serie A perspective and get his thoughts about how it's going to be looking in the January window. And we'll go from there. So, stuff going on today, and we'll show you where to watch, and we'll get into all of that in just a little bit. Right now, as always, it is Super League in Turkey. It is Middle East. It is North Africa. It is Eastern Europe. Liga starts at the top of the hour. Lorient Montpellier. You've got the Greece Super League. You've got La Liga, Girona, Rayo Vallecano, Girona, after surviving in the Copa del Rey with a fourth division club. They're a plus 108 at home against Rayo at a plus 272. Friendlies. Once again, you've got North Africa. You've got Europe working their way into the noon hour. In the championship, QPR and Luton Town. And if you missed the discussion yesterday, QPR is a slight favorite. But right now, 5th through 17th is nuts in the championship. So if you have ESPN Plus or like to watch the championship as best you do, keep an eye on it for the second half of the season. Right now, you've got Burnley and Sheffield United. They are far and away the best. And then you've got this group of everybody else that is just insane. So if you think you're safe, you're not. And it's going to be a fun year in the championship, especially when the calendar turns from 2023. More friendlies, La Liga, Betis, and Athletic Bilbao is at 115. You've got League Two in England going on. More friendlies, the championship, League One, League Two, as their second round of festive fixtures kick off. That starts at 2:45 this afternoon. Middlesbrough at Blackburn. Middlesbrough's a favorite. Huddersfield Town is a favorite at home, and they're at the bottom of the standings as Rotherham comes to visit. Millwall on the minus side at a minus 128 hosting Bristol City. Wigan and Sunderland kind of within shouting distance of each other. Sunderland is a slight road favorite at a plus 160. Coventry is a plus 108 as they host Cardiff. Then you've got League One and League Two. Championship at 3 o'clock, West Brom and Preston North End. West Brom a big favorite at minus 137. They've caught fire recently after a coaching change. League 3 o'clock, Nice and Lens. Lens a favorite on the road. Marseille a big favorite at home against Toulouse. Blackpool, Sheffield United. Sheffield United right now second in the table. They're a minus 135 as Blackpool is having scoring problems right now at a plus 360. 3:30, Atletico Madrid and Elche. Atletico Madrid is a minus 345. You've got Portugal, friendlies, and the Santosh Trophy in India that carries you through the rest of your day. Just for the clarifications as to where you can watch what's going on today. So soccer on the tube. BN and Espanol have the triple header, 11, 1, and 3. ESPN Deportes has La Liga. They've got the three matches, 11, 1, 15, and 3:30. Gold TV has the Portuguese premiere at 4:15. ESPN Plus, three matches from the championship and three matches from the Spanish La Liga at 11, 1, and 3:20. So that gets you in through today when it comes to your viewing. Also on the board this morning, for those of you that missed hour number one, today and tomorrow, what I want to do is I want to put a bow on 2022 and get you ready for 2023. 2023 will be New Year's resolutions on Monday, both soccer and for yourself. 2022, I wanted to finish up today and tomorrow, so this will be a 2-day process, on the best matches you saw in person, best match you saw on TV, who your MVP of MVPs is, who you enjoyed watching grow as a talent in 2022, those kinds of things. I want to talk about the games that you saw, the players that you saw, the talent that you saw in 2022, and what you're looking forward to in 2023. So tell me about your 2022, what you liked about it, what you didn't like about it, outside of what we normally talk about, because we get to talk about a lot of things. We get to talk about a lot of things Atlanta United centric, but I wanted to widen that out, considering we didn't get to talk about a lot of other things. So outside of Atlanta United, matches that you enjoyed, matches that you were at, talent that you enjoyed, MVP of MVPs, and if you got to take any road trips and catch matches on the road, what venues and activities did you get to see in 2022 that you'd like to continue or tell folks about here in 22 and get you ready for 23? So I want to wrap up 2022 by finding out about the talent that you saw, the matches that you saw, the teams that you saw, and what you enjoyed most about 2022, whether it was players, young players that were growing, established players that you got the chance to watch, favorite matches, TV, in person, all those kinds of things. So for today and tomorrow, don't let me forget tomorrow that we're going to do this too, that I wanted to talk about those kinds of things as well. When you're, yeah, I know. And I know that there's talk, Tom, about Jordan Pickford and keeping him around. So I know that it's going to be a tall order for Everton to hang around. How much confidence do you have in Frank Lampard? When do you see Frank Lampard possibly being shown the door and Big Dunk having to sit there? And when do you think Big Dunk gets the gig again? So when the end of the January window, when are you looking at for Big Dunk to take over again one more time? Excuse me for a second. I don't know if you guys have this either, but I have become somewhat addicted to Diet Sunkist. And it's because I kind of got tired of drinking Diet Dr. Pepper all the time and trying to, keep an eye on the waistline, those kinds of things. But I cannot for the life of me find the 6-packs of Diet Sunkist. I know this is a bit of a sidebar, so I know that shocked you. But, yeah, I can find 2 liters. And I can find 12 packs, and they're expensive as all get out. But for the life of me, I cannot find the 6 packs of Diet Sunkist. And so I'm having to live basically 2 liters at a time when it comes to making sure that I actually have it in the carport. Badger, you mentioned the investment from the United States. So, Michael Dell, MSD Holdings, 4-year, £20 million loan. Okay. Wes Brom confirmed that they took out the £20 million loan from MSD, taken out over 4 years with the group's UK holding company, used to finance the club's general business operations. And the fun thing here, West Bromwich Albion, they're 14th, but they're 3 points out of the playoffs. We mentioned how crazy it is. This season is the last one covered by the parachute payments after relegation from the Premier League in 2020-2021. And because this is from our friends at the BBC, because West Bromwich Albion went down the season after winning promotion from the top flight in 1920, the payments are made for 2 years rather than 3. So if you go up, you go back, it's only 2 years. If you go up, you stay, and then you go back, then it's 3. News of the deal comes days after the club assured fans basically a £5 million loan to chairman Guoxuan Lai will be repaid by the end of the year. Originally due to be repaid in September along with £50,000 interest, it was lent to Lai with the help of his other companies through the COVID crisis. With Baggies Group Director Shu K announcing the MSD loan will, quote, only be spent on the purposes of the football club. Attention will inevitably shift, and this is BBC's wording, to how much new head coach Carlos Corberán will have to strengthen his squad next month for the promotion push. Corberán told the media last week he was happy with his squad and would see if we can strengthen in January. West Brom are the latest club to borrow money from MSD. Southampton, Burnley, Derby, they owe MSD £15 million. The Baggies deals with the financing group's UK holding company registered in Cardiff. Analysis from the BBC on West Brom from Rob Gurney. Quote, clearly worrying news for Albion fans with the Hawthorns and the Baggies training ground among those group assets being used to secure the loan. The club's next set of accounts will show them still to be in the black, but Premier League parachute payments run out at the end of this season, hence the need for the £20 million injection. Gurney says, I understand it's been made to avoid a fire sale of players. And while I'm led to believe promotion this season isn't an absolute must, it's clear Albion have to return to the top table sooner rather than later. As Gurney writes, Goshuan Lai is yet to repay the £5 million loan he took out of the club during the pandemic to prop up another of his businesses. Missed one deadline, and the next one is Saturday. How a club that has spent 13 seasons in the Premier League has got into this position is a very pertinent question to ask. Yes, it is, Rob Gurney. How does a team that does what it does then ends up in this kind of financial peril, knock on MSD's door, and MSD says, yeah, sure, we'll give you £15 million. I wonder what the interest rates are. I think in the past, when we've been looking at MSD, their interest rates, I want to say with Southampton, it was like in the 20s or 30s. I mean, that's if you're that desperate, you're going to sit there and knock on MSD's door. MSD can pretty much call their own shot. So, we'll keep an eye on West Brom and Badger. You're not too far off. Sounds like the stuff that winding up orders are eventually made up. I don't think you're far off. Kicking the can down the road by accruing debt is a big gamble. Yeah, and this is what you see in sides in the championship, and we'll go over this in just a second. All right, so quickly on Everton. Tom, Frank's out of his depth. Miraculous January window. We're in big trouble. We're terrible, and he admits it's been a really crappy couple of seasons for him between Everton and Atlanta United. All right, so the biggest thing, it's like and this is a point that we talked about a lot. If you're in the championship, if you're relegated, and we know that those teams that are like 25 to 27, those yo-yo teams that are always there, if you don't yo-yo back up immediately, there's a chance that you may not come back and be there in quite some time. So let's take a peek at the championship. Let's go through some familiar names and where they are right now. Okay, so Burnley, long time in the Premier League, punched above their weight. They, I think, got some loans to MSD. They're right now on top with Vincent Kompany. Lost only twice this year in 14 matches. Sheffield United, under Chris Wilder, they punched above their weight. And then I think it was the second year, they definitely showed that they were going to have trouble competing in the Premier League. Right now, they're 1-2. Blackburn lost 3 of 4. They're at 39 points. They're number 3. Watford is 4th. Norwich is 5th. QPR, who has not been in the Premier League in quite some time, is at number 7. Reading, who hasn't been in a while, is at number 8. We probably should have Jessica Charman on to talk about Reading and just what life is like in the championship outside the Premier League. Sunderland, who went all the way down to League One, they're finally back in the championship. They're 9th. Middlesbrough, who had a cup of coffee in the Premier League, they're back down. They're in 11th. West Brom is in 14th. Crazy 8s across the board in 24 matches. They're at 32 points. It's been a while for Birmingham. Swansea City's in 16th. Stoke is in 17th. Cardiff is in 20th. Hull, 21st. Blackpool, it's been forever. They're in 22nd. Wigan is next to last. Huddersfield is in last. So let's take a peek at that list. Burnley, Sheffield United, Blackburn, Watford, Norwich, QPR, Reading, Sunderland, Borough, West Brom, Birmingham, Swansea, Stoke, Cardiff, Hull, Blackpool, Wigan, Huddersfield. 18. So 18 of the 24 teams have been in the Premier League, let's just say in the last decade at some point. And a lot of them, they've been relegated and they haven't come back. Blackburn relegated, haven't come back. QPR relegated, haven't come back. Reading relegated, haven't come back. Sunderland relegated, dropped to the 3rd division, finally back up to the 2nd division. Middlesbrough hasn't come back. West Brom, it's been a couple of years. I'm willing to give them a little benefit of the doubt. Birmingham, been a while. Swansea, been a while. Stoke, been a while. Cardiff, been a while. I just have the vision of Neil Warnock on the sidelines at Cardiff. Hull, been a while. Blackpool, been a while. With Venky's as the owners of Blackburn, they're trying to work their way back. Blackpool has just been with the Oysters, awful ownership. Wigan, they went down to the 3rd division. They're finally back. Huddersfield punched above their weight, and I think that they're finally last season and this they're back to where they've been. So that's a lot of clubs that have not come back from their time in the Premier League, dropping down into League One. Let me see if anybody is still down there that's been, Sheffield Wednesday, if you really want to go back a while. Then you've got Bolton, who's been a while. Derby County, who right now is in 6th in the 3rd division with 22 matches. Pompey, they filed for bankruptcy, and so they've been a League One team. And that pretty much should cover it with that. So only a handful of teams have dropped to League One and are still in League One, still fighting their championship clubs and that kind of thing. So it's a tall order. If you drop out, there's the danger that you may just completely and totally drop out entirely. And then when you go inside the pyramid itself, if you're dropping out of League One and you're dropping out of League Two and then you're in trouble, I'll give you a team that's really in trouble. And they're in the National League right now. And it's Scunthorpe United. And we've talked about Scunthorpe, and I've worn their gear on the show because, as a member of their trust. Right now, Wrexham, by the way, in the National League, they're 4 points behind Notts County. And they are 7 points clear of Chesterfield. And they would get the first round bye. Notts County would get the automatic promotion spot to come back. Notts County has gone through financial just crap over the last little while. But right now, Scunthorpe, having financial issues, they are last in the National League. You want to talk about completely going off the grid? It was bad enough when they got relegated out of League Two last year. They're last in the National League. And they could go into the regional National Leagues if things continue to just crap out the way that they have. It's, and Badger, you're right. It literally, Huddersfield's bottom of the championship. They probably will be in League One next year. But it is a difficult order for folks to be a part of that pyramid and stay viable. And this circles back to the original point, where you're trying to spend, and then the money that you spent is drying up because everyone has these visions of the Premier League and getting to the Premier League and, all of the money that's attached. And just look at Nottingham Forest with all of the investment that what Nottingham Forest is doing is they are investing their TV money into the players that they're bringing in, and they'll sell them off if they get relegated again. And then you'll get the 2-year parachute payments. And Nottingham Forest might be the next one that would be in trouble if they don't stay up this year. It is a tall order for a team these days when they see all of the money that is going on in the Prem. They feel like they have to overspend and put themselves into debt so they can try to get into the Premier League, but they don't think about what happens if they don't make it into the Premier League. It's like, oh, crap, we're going to spend. And then at the end of the year, it's like, oh, crap, we spent and we didn't make it. Now what? That's when you make your phone calls to MSD. And MSD will sit there and they will charge you 20% interest without a second glance. And you're going to have to sit there and say, well, how desperate are you? Do you want the money? Yes or no? And most of the time, the answer is yes. And MSD will sit there and say, well, tell you what, what's your collateral? And apparently, according to the BBC, it's the training ground and the stadium. So keep an eye on West Brom. Keep an eye on West Brom if they don't make it in the madness that is the championship this year. 5 through 17, separated by 3 points in a 24-team league. If West Brom does not make it, then what happens to West Brom? We'll keep an eye on West Brom and see what's going on there. And it could be absolutely crazy. And Badger, you're absolutely correct. For all of the pro-rel opponents here, be careful what you wish for. One of the many reasons why I don't think it'll work. But yeah, just in general, if you follow teams across the pond, if you follow leagues, these cautionary tales, and they sometimes are more than cautionary tales. They are dangerous tales of teams that drop off the map. And there have been teams that haven't been able to make ends meet in lower divisions in England. You know, we talked about Macclesfield and Bury in the past. But right now, the way things stand, I will say this, keep an eye on West Brom. Keep an eye on West Brom. If they don't make it back to the Premier League, and think of all the folks that you got to climb over, yes, you can have a hot week in festive fixtures and you could do really well and all that kind of stuff. But if you don't make it, and you've got an owner who is sitting there and doing 5-card monte to try to figure out how to pay his bills with his other businesses by taking out loans off of your sports franchises, that's not a good sign. So what happens? Definitely we're going to be keeping an eye on West Brom for the wrong reasons, not the right reasons, but sadly for the wrong reasons when it comes to West Brom. I wanted to get into Club Brugge before we left this morning. And like I said, tomorrow we will continue the look back at 2022 once again. So put your thinking caps on for tomorrow. Favorite matches that you saw, MVP of MVPs, road trips. And this is kind of also to share information with everybody too, with everybody on the board, you know. All right, so yeah, go here, sample this. Go here, sample this. And so it's MVP of MVPs, players that you like to watch grow in 2022 that you're looking to see more of in 2023. Favorite matches of the year, whether you watched them on TV, whether you were there in person, those kinds of things. Favorite moments of 2022. We'll get into that tomorrow. New Year's resolutions for Monday, since it will be the beginning of 2023. And next week, the end of next week, players report for physicals for Atlanta United for Major League Soccer. We'll get into MLS news before we go because there's been some interesting stuff come across the table in Major League Soccer. And when we catch up with Nico Moreno this week, we'll ask him about one guy in particular. It's a very, very busy day for Tommy Scoops yesterday. We'll be going through a lot of his stuff before we go. But, all right, so here's the stuff with Club Brugge. All right, from Reuters. They fired head coach Karl Hofkins despite them leading them to their first ever place in the last 16 of the Champions League this year. Announced on Wednesday, comes after a run of poor domestic form, including a 4-1 home defeat by St. Truiden in the Belgian Cup last week, a 1-1 home draw with Leuven, OH Leuven in the league on Tuesday, which left them in fourth place, 12 points behind leaders Racing Genk. He'd only been in the job 6 months, Hofkins had, stepping up from the role of assistant to take over from Alfred Schroeder, who left for Ajax after winning the Belgian league last year. Hofkins, whose playing career took spells in at Stoke and West Brom, interesting circular there, made an impression with Club Brugge in the group stage of the Champions League. They won their first 3 matches, early qualifiers for the last 16. ended the group in second place behind Porto, eliminating Atletico Madrid and Bayer Leverkusen. But the club said results in Belgian competition were not satisfactory and that they were now looking for the best possible successor. Statement from GM Vincent Manhart. Carl is a club man down to his blood. His contribution and commitment to the youth academy as an assistant were greatly appreciated. His part in the season's successful Champions League campaign cannot be underestimated either, but our decision in the summer to make him coach did not deliver the desired level of play and results in the Belgian League and Cup. The next play away at league leaders Genk January 8, and in February face Benfica home and away in the last 16 of the Champions League. So let me get this straight. So your coach gets you into the last 16 of the Champions League. You were early qualifier into the knockouts. Finished second in your group. You are basically, you're in fourth right now. You're 12 points behind Genk, who are leaders in the league. But let me look at this here. All right, so you drew your last two. You've drawn 3 of your last 5. You're at 34 points. You've won 10 of 18. The team above you, Antwerp, is at 36 points. The team above them, Royal Union, is at 39 points. You 2 points out of third, and you're in an automatic promotions. You're an automatic spot for Champions League right now as things stand. You're 3 points ahead of Ghent, who's in 5th. Royal Union is at 39 points. They're 5 points ahead of you. You made it into the round of 16 in Champions League. But because of cup play, which, I don't know, maybe you're gassed from having to play Champions League and travel and all of that in addition to what you're doing in USL or Pro, you decide that the guy ain't cutting it for you. Round of 16 in the Champions League coming up next in February, where you're playing Benfica. But because of your domestic play, where you're 2 points out of third and 5 points out of second, Genk is 115 of 18. They're off on their own planet right now. You decide to fire your coach. Good luck with the rest of the season. Good luck with that Champions League. Yeah, I know you're going to qualify back in, but yeah, good luck with that. So once again, we'll keep an eye on it. We'll keep an eye on Brugge, who may, because of this, they may have had their foghorn status revoked, and we may just do it for Circle. But Circle got us mad this year too in 2022. So maybe the foghorn gets retired until further notice, unless there's a third team there in that city that is worthy of the foghorn. So club has pissed us off. I think Circle pissed us off, and so Club Brugge, not good for you. So yeah, we'll keep an eye on that. But before we go, MLS stuff, and like I said, it was a very busy day for Tommy Scoops yesterday, and there's a lot of stuff to look at and figure out who's going where and who might be doing what. Early this morning, it looks like the Seattle Sounders might be picking up Eber. So Eber from NYC to Seattle looks, and according to Tom Bogert, sending around $400,000 in GAM to NYC. So last year they pick up Albert Rusnak. This year looks like they're picking up Eber from NYCFC. So firepower up top for the Seattle Sounders in the form of Eber from Tom Bogert this morning. And you look at, and this is, he makes the point looking at NYCFC's starting 11 from MLS Cup 2021. Head coach, 5 starters officially gone. 3 more are out of contract, 8 of 11, and the head coach. 3 from the bench, and 1 other gone. So here's the lay of the land. Ronnie Dyla, Tati Castellanos, Maxi Morales, Medina, Goody, and Sands. All gone. The bench, Eber, Acevedo, Tajiri Shradi, gone. Tinnerholm was hurt. He went back to Europe. So that's 8 of 11 in the starting 11 from the MLS Cup team that won in 2021, plus your head coach, 3 from your bench, and a 4th who was hurt. All gone. NYC, Nick Cushing, they really must be trusting a lot of the youngins for 2023 when it comes to their lineup. And there is reason to trust, but that's a lot of stuff that's taken away. It looks like Hebert heading to Seattle. Houston Dynamo finalizing a deal to sign Paraguay international winger Ivan Franco on loan from Libertad with a purchase option. 10 goals, 16 assists in 6,000 minutes in Paraguay. Rejoins former teammate and friend Sebastian Ferreira in Houston. So keep an eye on Ivan Franco on loan to Houston from Libertad. Whitecaps have extended midfielder Caio Alexandra's loan from Fortaleza through the end of next year. New loan agreement includes an obligation to purchase if certain performance metrics are met. Criscito, we talked about him yesterday, but yeah, he unretired. He retired from Toronto FC November 15th, and 6 weeks later, he's back under contract in Genoa, wearing number 4. So we'll keep an eye on that one too. So you're looking at all of that stuff. Tajiri Shradi, we mentioned him. He's a free agent. He was a picture of him working out at SAT Soccer down in Miami. Missed most of 2022 with an injury, but you'll get to Tajiri Shradi. According to Chris Smith, sources are telling 90 Minutes Seattle Sounders have given Pumas a $2 million asking price for Danny Leyva. Puebla have also registered formal interest. Clubs in Europe still monitoring the situation. Leyva's current deal ends at the end of next year. So Danny Leyva in Seattle. We'll keep an eye on that. And we also mentioned the re-signing of Pedro Gallese as well. So a lot of stuff going on across the board when it comes to player movement in Major League Soccer. And so once again, training camp, at least here in Atlanta, kicks off on the 6th for weights and toe touchies, and then actual stuff starts on the 8th. So we are less than a week away from everything going on in the world of soccer kicking back in for Major League Soccer. So we'll catch up with Nico Moreno. We'll figure out if Thursdays with Nico is going to be later today or if it's going to be Friday on the network. We'll let you know what time that is going to kick in. But we've got a day off. Who knew that there'd be a day off when it came to the Premier League? So tomorrow, 2 matches. We'll get into the juice boxes there as well as round 2 of festive fixtures kick in. West Ham, Brentford, Liverpool, and Leicester. Then you have 6 matches on Saturday, 2 more on Sunday, and that gets you into January 2nd, where round 3 of the festive fixtures on the 2, 3, 4, and 5. And that gets you through all 3 rounds of festive fixtures. So reminder, Prem and Proper is up on the network. Reminder, Cleveland Soccer Group with their thoughts about getting into MLS Next Pro in 2025. We caught up with their CEO, and that is up on the network as well. This will be up on the network in short order, and we will do it all again tomorrow. So put on your thinking caps, folks, and we will roll through the tail end of 2022. And so everything on your mind about favorite players, who's your MVP of MVPs, best match you watched all year, in person, someplace else, travel, really cool things to wrap up 2022, because 2023, we're going to get into New Year's resolutions as we get ready for training camps and transactions and the January window, and then all hell will continue to break loose. So for everybody here at SDH, for Jason, for Jarrett, for Nick, I'm just John. We'll be back at it again tomorrow, 9:05, as we always are. Thanks for hanging out with us as much as you do. Couldn't do it without you. And very, very thankful for all that you guys do with us, for us, and are a part of the family every single day here at SDH. Since it is the end of the show, it's the end of the day, we'll be back at it again tomorrow. That means I get to do this. Mucha plati, I'll play it safe. We'll be back at it tomorrow here at SDH.